I'm going to take a look at the Sembylon Valkyrie blaster. It was sent to me for review by Biu Blasters. I wanted to check this out because this is a blaster I've actually had my eye on for a bit, and I wanted to take a look at this because it's supposed to kind of combine a bit of high performance with an injection molded body instead of a 3D printed, but it does have a very realistic look to it, and it does have some highs and some lows, and we'll talk about both. Now, what is it? It is a mag-fed pump action Springer that fires half-length darts and comes included with a scar attachment, a Picatinny rail that has a foregrip that's included, as well as a EOTech type sight on top that does have a functional green dot there. There, you can see that nice and clear. Now, one thing I always like to do with sealed breech type Springers, we'll take the scar off. It is just a slip-on design, so just slide it on or off at any time. We'll take off the mag for a second. I'm going to show you something. Prime it back. Now, you never want to dry fire a blaster, but if it is a sealed breech, you should be able to plug it, and you should be able to see the plunger. I'll back off just a bit. Let's get it in frame so you can still see my finger here. You should be able to stop that from collapsing forward until you release your finger. Very nice. Pry it back, plug it, and then I can actually get it to almost completely stop. We'll slide that scar attachment back on, reinsert the mag, and it also includes a spring that when you get it, it's not 100% assembled. It's like 99%. You have, the barrel is loose, and you have to actually put that in place, and this little spring here slides over the barrel, and what it is, it's a return spring. It's kind of a return assist. It helps the foregrip, it starts to almost push itself forward, which is kind of nice. It adds a little more resistance coming back during the prime, but you don't really notice it. But it does have a nice little pop to it. But this thing, one of the main keys for it is its solid construction. I mean, this thing feels like it could survive the apocalypse. A lot of blasters, I'm a Busby guy. Everybody knows that. One of the things is that some blasters from Busby in the past have had a little bit of a weak feel to it. And other brands also. Like, even though I love X-Shot, some of their blasters feel kind of a little bit on the lightly built side. But this thing feels like a tank. I mean, down from the grips, the hardware, everything, including even the stock, even though it is a multi-position stock, has one button here on top to allow you to push that and collapse it multiple different ways, all the way fully in or up to 4 different positions. Everything feels solid. Even the included proprietary mag, and I'm going to touch more on that, this is actually really solid. Everything about it. The priming bars that you can see here through the gaps, the silver, everything feels really solidly made. There does not feel like there's any weak or any kind of worrisome points on it. So that's a huge positive. It actually feels like it's got some weight to it as well. Ergonomics are very, very good. You have comfortable pistol grip, comfortable foregrip, easy to use, and fully ambidextrous mag release. It's another one it just seems right. It's in the trigger well. So when you simply go from your trigger finger, just push forward, release the mag, and the mag can, with a little shake, gravity drop. Takes a little shake to it. It won't just drop instantly. But everything about this seems very top-notch. Now, those are all the positives. I haven't mentioned the performance yet. With the scar attached, and this is going to be one of the points where you, as soon as you watch, you're going to say, oh, or that's okay. It's going to be one of the two ways, either bad or good, or indifferent maybe. But with the scar attached, when I put it over the chronograph, I averaged just under 120 feet per second with this blaster. That's right, I averaged 118.9 feet per second with this blaster. With it off, I gained almost 20 feet per second. I was averaging actually about 145.2. So 118 to 145. Round it up, we're going to say 120 to 145, just for me to remember easily. But that's actually 25 feet per second difference, roundabout. That's a little low, in my opinion, for what this is and the price, because this is well over $100. And keep in mind, proprietary mag. Said that once, now I said it again. Proprietary mag. You have to buy extras. And some people don't remember that that's part of the purchase price. If you can't use your current stock of mags, you have to then, as you buy this blaster, buy the mags that fit it. And you're going to need to buy at least 4 extra. Because, I mean, 5 would be, to me, the minimum you're going to get by with to run on you. I comfortably loaded 18 darts in this. I was running with the Adventure Force Pro half-lengths, and I was comfortably able to load 18. Now, you can jam 19 in or 20, but the 20, it always causes an issue, and the 19 is 50-50 on it. Sometimes it'll load fine, sometimes it won't. 18, it ran flawlessly. So keep that in mind. You're going to need at least 5 mags, I think, to run any kind of length of battle. So you're going to have to buy the blaster and 4 more mags. That's going to get up there in price. And now you're looking at around about just under 120 feet per second with the SCAR, and you're going to want to run that because, to be honest, I was able to plink soda cans at about 25-30 foot range. You know, here in my garage workshop, I'm able to hit them every single time. When I go all the way to the back side of my workshop and fire to the front, which this is, you know, it's about roughly 20 foot range. And at that range I can hit, and that's indoors, I can hit it every time. Outside, if I go set a soda can on the hood of my vehicle and walk back 25 feet or so, I can plink it off, you know, at about a 50% hit rate with the SCAR barrel. And that's me freestanding with wind. So very accurate with it, but it does have a noticeable degradation of your performance. Dropping down from about 145 to under 120. Something to keep note of, though, is that the Nexus Pro already has that performance for a far cheaper cost. And there are other options once you get into the price range of this. You know, with the $130, $140 price range, you're looking at a lot of blasters out there at that price range with higher performance and even with running a SCAR barrel. So the Valkyrie, while offering a lot of quality and smooth performance, I mean, this is ultra smooth. And I actually think there's a lot of performance to be gained with running a different spring. If you take a look at the spring in there, that plunger tube has a lot of room in there. And the way that the spring is sitting, I think there's a lot of additional choices that you could have. Because as light as the prime is on this, I mean, this is really, really light to me. Even with that, you know, return helper spring, even with that in, the prime is ultra, ultra light. And that's probably why the performance is kind of on the low end. So keep that in mind as you watch this video. I think that there's probably a lot more performance to be had in there with just a spring swap. Because, I mean, as you've seen, this thing has a really, really nicely sealed breech. And it has a very nice seal on the plunger itself. That's how this little trick here that I demonstrated, that's one of the first things I do anytime I put together a breech or I test something with a sealed breech is check the air retention. It's still going there. I'm not gonna keep holding it for 40 seconds. But it'll retain air for 30 to 40 seconds, which is very, very good sign. So a spring upgrade would be absolute priority 1. And I actually like the blaster, but in a critical thinking manner, the price of the blaster, the fact that it has proprietary mags, and the color scheme, and yes, the color scheme matters. This blaster is going to have to be used on private venues only, as is. Now, if you were to paint it up in a really bright, like, say, orange and white, you know, hydro dip, like an orange creamsicle blend, and yes, that's kind of what I'm thinking to myself to do. But if I were to do that, then I could use it wherever I feel like it, because it'll look so bright and colorful that nobody will care. It'll look like, you know, say, think of the Nexus Pro, it's orange. Nexus Pro is a pump action springer that nobody's ever going to have an issue with you using that out in public because it looks like a Nerf blaster. And that matters. This thing has the kind of performance you're going to want to use if you don't do a spring swap. This is the kind of performance you're going to want to use when you're running around doing local club venues. Let's say like ours is 150 max. So 150 max, this fits comfortably in there with or without the scar. I just would need to paint this because we can't have issues arising from that. And that is something that matters when you look at a blaster, because now I've got to tear this down and paint it. So keep all these things in mind. I will put a link to Biu Blasters listing of this because I do thank them for sending this to me. This is a very, very nice feeling blaster. And I'm not anti 3D printing, but this feels like a world better than most 3D printed blasters. Especially when the summers here hit about almost 100 degrees in July and August. That is something to consider. So I actually have had a couple of my 3D printed blasters warp in the heat, even here in the workshop. They've actually warped one of them on my workbench. And the knowledge that this will never do that is kind of nice. I have to admit that. So even though it's a mixed review, I'm going to leave the final decision up to you. But this is the Valkyrie. Available on Biu Blasters. And while solid, it does have some negatives and has some positives. It is a solid blaster, but it's kind of mixed. And that's for you to decide yourself if you like what you see, you like what I had to say about it. But that's kind of my opinion presented to you in the review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.